Hey guys, Palsteron here, and today let's talk about new ways that you can scale the damage of your spellcasters with. And I already know what your first reaction is going to be. If you look at my inventory, you're like, wow, Palsteron, you're a genius, Badge of the Brotherhood exists, power charge stacking exists. But it's not just that, it is that there's actually new tools to use power charge stacking by using minimum charges. So just to point out, I'm definitely not the first one to do this, but I just wanted to point out how this works. Basically, the old way to scale a lot of spellcasters, or the best way to scale spellcasters, used to be Badge of the Brotherhood before Omni came around. Crystallized Omniscience just kinda changed the game as a whole. Very much in its favor, but now that Crystallized Omniscience got nerfed and there's some new tools for power charge stackers again, it's getting interesting. I'll quickly get this out of the way, but the way Badge of the Brotherhood basically works, in case you've never played it, is it sets your maximum frenzy charges to your maximum power charges. So that means if you're a power charge stacker and you have 12 maximum power charges, you can now gain up to 12 maximum frenzy charges. Now, one of the big reasons why Badge of the Brotherhood is so strong is because it gives you elusive effect. And just to bring you up to speed, elusive has been changed like a few leagues ago, so let's just go through it. 100% elusive gives you 15% chance to avoid all damage from hits and 30% increased movement speed. And this effect basically trickles down from 15 to 0 and from 30 to 0, and you cannot regain the buffs. So what you could say is, well, actually you're only getting 15% on average and 7.5% chance to avoid all damage from hits, because it goes from 100 to 0 and you can't refresh it. But that's not exactly true, because what you do is you use Withering Step to actually reset your elusive. So you have elusive on hit on your boots, and then whenever it's like trickling down, you just press Withering Step. I usually put it on left mouse button, then you never have to think about it. And this gives you a different wither, basically overriding the other wither. And then you're going to cast something, so this wither is going away, and you get a new wither stack. Now, this can actually reset it. So on average, I would say you can pretty much say that you're going to be at around 90 to 100% almost all the time. Now at 12 power charges, that gives you 120% elusive effect, which can be translated into 70% chance to outright avoid hits, that is any hits, spell or attack, and also 36% move speed from the elusive. And you also, from the 12 frenzy charges, get 10% increased cooldown recovery rate of travel skills per. And the thing about that is Smoke Mine got nerfed pretty hard recently, and it is not really used anymore. But Smoke Mine is one of those skills that's just extremely strong. It gives you 30% movement speed, and then on top of that, you can also get a Helm enchant for another 30%, for a total of 60% movement speed. And with this cooldown recovery rate and increased duration support, you can actually put it into your build again. All right, so far nothing new. This is basically how a lot of these power charge stackers used to work. But there's two problems that kind of can be answered this league that make power charge stacking a lot more interesting. Now, the first problem is, how do you actually gain frenzy charges? And this is not as easy as you might think. Obviously, during mapping, you can go with Blood Rage, but that is just not consistent enough. You really want the frenzy on hit. Now, the first reason why this is a big problem is you could just say, okay, just get it on a influenced chest. As you can see here, you can get 10% chance to gain a frenzy charge on hit on a Redeemer base. There's just a ton of problems with this. So first up, you can get +4 unique chests that are actually really strong after the changes. And whether that's Skin of the Lords, Dialas, or even something like a Lightning Coil for more defenses, you can get +4 on it, not easily, but if you're min-maxing, you can definitely get there. Or even a Dialas with a +1 is already insane amounts of damage. We're talking like 50%, 60% more damage just through corruptions, which you would lose out on if you get that Redeemer chest, right? Number two, even if you were to say, I don't care about this damage, you can still not get any Eldritch Implicits on influenced items. And as we all know, Eldritch Implicits are completely busted on body armor. You can straight up get 20% aura effect, and then also aura effect of your choosing, for example, Determination, Grace, whatever we want. And at the end here, which a lot of people who just put their stuff into PoB maybe won't notice, but 10% is actually not that much. If you're up against bosses and you're not a skill that hits frequently, 10% is not going to get you to like 12 frenzy charges. We're talking 120 hits on average that you have to do in order to get to your full potential. So overall, you can see where this is going. It's just kind of a pain. It's easy to do, but you're sacrificing a lot of opportunity cost in there. Next up, we cannot get Inner Conviction while we have Badge of the Brotherhood. And Inner Conviction is this keystone here that gives you 3% more spell damage per power charge, which at 12 power charges is 36% more damage. Completely insane. for just the keystone right here. You get it on a militant faith that is faithful to High Templar Dominus. But notice the second line here, it says gain power charges instead of frenzy charges, which means everything we just said goes out of the window. So you kind of have this decision to make between going Inner Conviction, going Badge of the Brotherhood, going the nerfed Omni. Well, I'm here to tell you that you can now actually go Inner Conviction and Badge of the Brotherhood pretty consistently. Now, just to give you a little bit of an input on how minimum charges actually work, your minimum charges cannot be higher than your maximum charges. So an example here, +5 minimum frenzy charges. If you get +5 minimum, you still cannot go over free frenzy charges unless you have maximum frenzy charges. So in this example, if you have no maximum frenzy charges, you can still only get to the default of free. This is also one of the reasons why, for example, Conviction of Power from the Hierophant actually has to have +1 maximum power charge and endurance charge. Otherwise, you could not even make use of the 4 minimum charges. And the kicker is, Inner Conviction just tells you cannot gain frenzy charges, basically, because now you gain power charges instead of frenzy charges, which does not count for minimum charges. So as you can see right here, it is allocated. I put on the boots and I still have frenzy charges. In this scenario right here, if I had 12 power charges, I would have 12 frenzy charges as well, because there's 12 maximum power charges. I would go instantly to 12 maximum frenzy charges. So this is a way to get to play with Badge of the Brotherhood, which is absolutely insane for mappers. For example, you get so much movement speed, access to Smoke Mine, straight up 17% chance to not get hit at all, plus the 15 you already had, for a total of like 32-ish, and you can still use Inner Conviction. It is really, really strong, but one of the things about Ralakesh is it is, while very strong, it is not good for a lot of mappers. So what we're talking about in Ralakesh here is it's very strong on a bosser because you have to stand still while you get your charges. So as you see here, lose all frenzy, endurance, and power charges when you move. Minimum endurance charges equal to maximum, right? And so forth, basically making it so you don't have to gain them on hit, which is incredibly powerful, but also if you're mapping, that's a complete PoB warrior thing, because it's never actually going to matter. Especially, for example, we're playing a Winter Orber right now. It does not work. But here is where we enter Grand Spectrum Jewels. So there's a new Grand Spectrum Jewel for each one of those charges, Frenzy, Power, and Endurance. And basically, they give you minimum charges per Grand Spectrum. The way this works is, if you have 3 of these in, you get a total of +9 minimum Frenzy charges. Now, you can get 9 minimum Frenzy charges with Grand Spectrums, and then you can also get +2 on your rings. Obviously, your amulet is taken, and you can get the 12th one if you have your perfect setup. Most people are going to have 11, but if you have the perfect setup, you can also get Disciple of the Slaughter for another +1. And why this is so strong versus something like Ralakesh on a mapper is you cannot replace Tailwind Elusive Onslaught Boots. Straight up, unless you're an assassin, which we are, for example, not, we're an occultist, you need elusive from your boots. You can't really get it anywhere else. So you need that elusive on hit, but you cannot not run Tailwind and Onslaught. You have to be fast on a mapper. So they're not replaceable. So Ralakesh Impatience is already out of the window, as well as that, obviously, the problem that you can't really stand still. So that is where the Grand Spectrum Jewels come in. So the upside for Badge of the Brotherhood with these new Grand Spectrum Jewels is that you can basically run Badge of the Brotherhood in a Conviction, as we already talked about, which isn't really possible otherwise. Second up, it's always up. You don't have to have anything on hit. There's no setup time, nothing. They're just there. There's 9 minimum frenzy charges right there. I can't really show you right now because I'm currently leveling. I'm not a decked out character. As well as that, you get another damage multiplier. Not only do they give you 12% more damage and 12% cast speed, they also give you everything the Badge of the Brotherhood gives you. And that's also something where the minimum frenzy charges really come in nicely, is you always have that cooldown recovery rate for travel skills. Who else knows that situation when you're kind of like after Legion, you're looting, and your frenzy charges are running out on the badge build, and now you can't really smoke mine anymore, or you're just slow, right? That is not going to happen with minimum frenzy charges. But at the end of the day, those are really nice buffs, right? Ralakesh, minimum frenzy charge, Grand Spectrums. Cool and all, but can it compare to Omni? Let's look at it. So from doing quite a bit of PoBs for this league, this is what I came away with. Omni still has more damage potential. We're talking 20-30% more damage at very, very high-end gear. It also fixes a lot of res issues, which you can then maybe leverage. For example, maybe a badge build has to go for 1 or 2 suffixes on their jewels to fix their res, and that's where Omni can just go straight up crit multi. However, and this is where I draw the line for me personally, where I love Badge a lot more for a mapper especially, is Badge gives you a ton of movement speed. Movement speed is premium right now. It's really hard to get nowadays. And the way you get it from Badge is through the cooldown recovery rate and the effect of Elusive, both which give you that movement speed. The Elusive effect gives you over 30% move speed, depending on how many power chargers you have, obviously. But then also you enable Smoke Mine, and Smoke Mine is not just for the 30% that you get from it. You can also get the Helm enchant for a total of 60% movement speed. So at the end of the day, if you have really good gear and you're extremely strong, you would always rather take the move speed. Now then, the second point for Badge is actually really huge, is your power charge stacking, so you have a ton of AoE. So for skills like Winter Orb, that is insane. There's a lot of skills where this is just really, really important. Scaling your AoE through Forbidden Power and through 2 times Vast Power just gives you like over 100% area of effect that you can very hardly recover from. And if we then talk about, for example, Omni has more damage potential, think about how many points it would cost you to get that AoE back if you're not a power charge stacker. You would have to go like here, maybe here, maybe you would have to use like a Carcass Jack or something awkward, right? At which point you would actually do less damage because now you sacrifice all those points. And then also you get better defenses because the increased elusive effect from Badge of the Brotherhood gives you a straight up extra 17% chance to avoid any hits from elusive. Once again, that's spells, that's attacks, just everything. So in conclusion, I'm really excited to play around with this. Getting to play with Badge of the Brotherhood without feeling like you're getting screwed because you're not going Omni is something that I really wanted to do. I hope I didn't downplay the importance of Ralakesh and Impatience. I think these are incredibly good in certain scenarios. For example, if you're in simulacrums or if you're boss killing. But for me, the Grand Spectrums are just way more hype right now. We'll see what happens. I'm going to keep you up to date on the build. But yeah, thanks for watching. But that's it for the video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, subscribe. As always, a huge shout out to my Twitch subscribers and my Patreons. I couldn't do videos like this without you. Thank you so much for the support. And yeah, some pretty cool new tech this league from some of the new uniques. We're going to play around with this. Currently leveling a Winter Orb character. Going to see how that goes. It's going to be some huge Herald of Ice chain explosions. So definitely look out for that in the coming days. But other than that, since I still don't have a slogan, see you next time.